The void stretched endlessly as Orin stood at the command deck, his scarred hands trembling against cold steel. Once a decorated soldier, he now lived in exile, but destiny had clawed him back. A distress beacon erupted across the console, its alien frequency clawing into his bones. Orin said, "This signal, it's not human." The crew froze as static morphed into a chilling voice, whispering of forgotten battles and worlds left in ruin. Marcus, the confidant, whispered, "The war's shadow still lingers." The ship trembled, metal groaning under invisible pressure, as though the past itself demanded to be remembered. Orin closed his eyes, flashes of fire and screams burning into memory. Selene, the survivor, stepped forward with haunted eyes. She said, "I've heard this voice before. It comes before death." The air grew heavy as the broadcast ended with coordinates, daring them toward a scarred battlefield lost to time. The coordinates etched themselves into Orin's mind like a scar that would never fade. He walked the dim corridor, boots striking hollow echoes against steel. Marcus followed silently, his presence steady, but his eyes betrayed worry. Orin said, "They want us to go there. They want me." Marcus placed a hand on his shoulder. "You've carried this weight too long, but maybe this is the moment to face it." Orin's chest burned with guilt as memories of soldiers lost under his command clawed back. Selene intercepted them, her tone sharp. "That place is cursed. I watched friends vanish into that darkness." The ship thrummed as engines primed for departure. Orin whispered, "The war never ended. It's waiting for us." In the war room, maps of forgotten battlefields shimmered in holograms, fragments of history bleeding into present danger. Orin stared at them, haunted. "I thought I buried this war," he muttered. Marcus adjusted the projection, revealing vast scars carved into planets. Wars never bury themselves. They wait for the willing. Selene leaned against the table, arms crossed, her voice bitter. "Those scars aren't history. They're graves." Orin felt the room closing in, the images of fallen soldiers standing behind every glowing star. He said, "If this is a trap, then it's meant for me." Marcus's gaze softened. "Perhaps it's meant for us all." As silence lingered, the hologram flickered again, this time revealing a cloaked figure hidden behind static. The voice, distorted yet sharp, said, "Orin, the war is not forgotten. It breathes beneath the ashes." Orin's pulse raced, his breath caught between fear and recognition. He said, "Who are you?" The figure's face never cleared, but the tone carried urgency. "Follow the path, or the galaxy burns anew." Selene slammed her hand against the table. "We can't trust this," Marcus whispered. "Truth often hides in shadows." The hologram faded, leaving only the coordinates glowing once more. Orin whispered, "Whoever that was, they know me. They know too much." The engines roared as the ship prepared to leap into the abyss. Orin stood alone at the viewport, stars stretching like rivers of light. He whispered, "If this war waits for me, I'll face it." Marcus approached, voice steady. "You are not alone in this." Orin turned, shadows etched deep into his face. "I led men to their deaths. If this is redemption, it's already too late." Selene joined them, her voice low, carrying pain. "We all lost something, but if we don't fight, we lose everything." The ship lurched, light consuming the viewport as hyperspace pulled them into unknown darkness. The ship descended upon a ruined outpost, a relic of the forgotten war. Crumbled towers reached into the sky like broken bones, shadows twisting beneath an amber sunset. Selene said, "I was here when the world burned." Her voice cracked, heavy with memory. Orin tightened his grip on his rifle, scanning wreckage that whispered of ghosts. Marcus placed a hand on his shoulder. "These ruins still breathe fear, but they also hold answers." Orin stepped forward, heart pounding as echoes of gunfire seemed to return with every gust of wind. Selene knelt beside scorched ground, fingers brushing ash. She whispered, "This was no battle, this was slaughter." The silence that followed felt heavier than any weapon. Inside a fractured bunker, Orin stood before rusted walls scrawled with the names of the fallen. His chest grew heavy as he traced each mark with his eyes. Marcus said, "You carry guilt for every one of these." Orin clenched his jaw. "Because they died following me." Selene, standing in the corner, shook her head. "No one survives war without scars. Some just cut deeper." The faint hum of broken machinery filled the silence, like a dirge for the dead. Orin pressed his forehead against the cold steel, whispering, "I swore never to lead again." Marcus's voice softened. "Perhaps fate is not asking you to lead, but to finish what began here." The silence shattered as enemy drones swarmed from the skies, metal wings slicing the air. Orin raised his weapon, shouting, "Positions!" The crew scattered as crimson beams rained down. Selene dove behind cover, firing precise bursts, her eyes fierce. Marcus stood steady, shielding Orin as sparks rained around them. Orin shouted over the chaos, "They knew we'd come here." Marcus replied, "The past always draws hunters." Explosions tore through ruins, dust choking the air. Orin surged forward, cutting down drones, but each shot brought old memories roaring back. He whispered under his breath, "Not again. I won't fail again." When the smoke cleared, Selene uncovered a metallic shard half buried in ash. Its alien surface glowed faintly with etched runes. She said, "This isn't from the drones. It's older." Orin crouched beside her, tracing the symbols with wary eyes. "I've seen this before, during the war." Marcus leaned closer, eyes narrowing. "Artifacts of the first conflict. They carry truths buried deeper than graves." Orin felt unease coiling in his stomach as the shard pulsed like a heartbeat. Selene whispered, "If this survived, then so did those who made it." Orin stood, determination burning through fear. "Then we are not fighting shadows. We are fighting something alive." The crew gathered as night cloaked the ruins, the alien shard pulsing between them. Tension rippled like static. Selene said, "This thing reeks of death. We should destroy it." Marcus shook his head. "No. It holds knowledge too dangerous to erase." Orin studied their faces, conflict tearing through him. "If this is what they want, then someone is already moving against us." A sudden sound echoed from the shadows, and Orin spun, weapon raised. But it wasn't an enemy. Kalen, once trusted ally, stepped forward with a sly grin. He said, "Funny how fate always brings me back. You found exactly what I need." The sting of betrayal lingered heavier than the night air. The ruins gave way to a cavern lit by strange alien fire, walls carved with runes pulsing faintly. Kalen stepped forward, his voice dripping with charm. "We share the same enemy, Orin." Orin leveled his weapon, jaw clenched. "You betrayed us once. I won't forget it." Kalen raised his hands, a grin cutting across his face. "Betrayal is perspective. I call it survival." Selene growled, "You sold lives for power." Kalen's gaze lingered on her with unsettling calm. Marcus placed himself between them, voice firm. "If his path leads us to truth, we must listen, though not trust." Orin's eyes burned as he lowered his rifle reluctantly. "One false step, Kalen, and I end this." The cavern echoed with uneasy silence, as if the war itself watched. The group trekked deeper into the cavern, alien symbols burning brighter with every step. Selene muttered, "I don't like where this leads." Kalen smirked. "Fear is proof we're close." Orin scanned the walls, memories gnawing at him. "These markings, I saw them during the last campaign. They marked burial sites." Marcus touched the stone gently. "Not graves, warnings." The air thickened, pressing on their lungs. Kalen stepped ahead with false confidence. "Warnings are for the weak," Orin hissed, "or the wise." The cavern trembled, dust falling from above as if ancient voices stirred. Selene gripped her weapon tighter, her voice a whisper. "Something doesn't want us here." At the cavern's heart, they found a survivor cloaked in shadows, trembling as the firelight revealed scars across her skin. Her name was Elara, eyes hollow but burning with truth. She rasped, "You shouldn't have come." Orin lowered his weapon slowly. "You've seen them, haven't you?" Elara nodded, her voice breaking. "They never died. They waited beneath the stars, feeding on silence." Marcus leaned closer, awe in his tone. "The hidden faction." Selene swallowed hard. "You lived through them." Elara's gaze pierced Orin. "I carry their secrets, but speaking them is death." Orin stepped forward, steady. Then whisper, "Even death wants silenced truth." Her tears caught the firelight as the cavern pulsed like a heartbeat. The cavern shook violently as echoes of war returned in spectral form. Orin's chest tightened, memories crashing down. He barked orders instinctively. "Defensive positions." Selene fired into shadows, where shapes moved like phantoms. Marcus's voice rang out, steady amid chaos. "These are not soldiers, they are echoes." Kalen's blade flashed, cutting through spectral forms with feral precision. Orin growled. "Echo or not, they want us dead." Elara fell to her knees, clutching her head. "They rise because you've awakened them." Orin dragged her back as stone cracked overhead. Selene shouted, "We'll be buried alive." The cavern split, and the ancient war demanded blood once again. The survivors staggered into open night as the cavern collapsed behind them, dust painting the stars in gray haze. Orin gasped for breath, sweat mixing with ash. Selene steadied Elara, her voice low. "She's barely standing." Marcus studied the shard glowing in Orin's hand, his tone grave. "The artifact awakened them. We've unleashed what should have remained buried." Kalen wiped blood from his blade, eyes gleaming. "And yet, this power proves they were real. Imagine what else waits." Orin turned on him, fury burning. "This is no prize, Kalen. It's a curse." Elara whispered through cracked lips, "And it's only the beginning." The weight of destiny pressed down heavier than the night sky. The night split open with fire as enemy ships descended upon the wasteland, their weapons igniting the ruins. Orin barked orders, rifle flashing. "Hold your ground." Selene ducked behind shattered stone, her voice sharp. "We're pinned." Kalen charged forward, blade tearing through metal, his grin wild in the chaos. Marcus lifted his hand, channeling calm even as explosions shook the earth. "Stay together or we're lost." Elara collapsed behind cover, trembling. Orin dragged her to safety, his breath ragged. "We can't let them take the shard." The battlefield burned with fury, screams mingling with fire, as if the war itself had awoken from its grave. As the fight raged, Marcus's eyes caught a fallen soldier lying among rubble, his armor marked with insignia of the old war. His chest heaved with final breaths. Marcus knelt, voice heavy with grief. "You were one of us." The soldier grasped his hand, whispering, "We fought, but the war never ended." They buried the truth. His eyes glazed, and his body fell still. Orin pulled Marcus up. "There's no time to mourn. They'll bury us too if we stay." Marcus clenched his fists, pain etched deep. "This war took everything from me once. I won't let it again." His voice carried the weight of a man on the edge of redemption or ruin. Smoke thickened, choking the air as Orin signaled retreat. "Fall back." But Marcus remained still, eyes locked on the enemy surge. He said, "No, I won't run again." Selene shouted, "Don't be a fool." Marcus stepped forward, robes catching firelight, his voice booming. "If my past ends here, let it be in sacrifice." He raised his arms, drawing the fire of drones, his body shielding the others. Orin grabbed him, but Marcus pushed him away. "Lead them, Orin, not as the man you were, but as the man you must become." A barrage struck, light engulfing Marcus as the battlefield roared. His choice bought them time, but at a cost etched in fire. The smoke cleared to reveal devastation. Marcus lay still, his robes burned, his face at peace. Orin dropped to his knees, voice breaking. "You gave everything." Selene placed a trembling hand on his shoulder. He believed in you more than you do yourself. Kalen smirked coldly. A waste of sacrifice. Power, not faith, wins wars. Orin rose, fury in his eyes. Power without honor leaves only ashes. He picked up Marcus's pendant from the ground, holding it tight. Elara whispered, "Sacrifice means the war is real again. And it has begun." Orin closed his fist around the pendant, determination forging in grief. "Then we finish this, for him." As the survivors retreated, the enemy forces parted, revealing the antagonist at last. A tall figure cloaked in dark armor, his eyes burned with cold resolve. He raised his voice, calm but terrifying. "You thought the war ended? I am the war reborn." Orin lifted his rifle, anger and grief warring in his heart. "I buried men because of you." The figure spread his arms. "You buried them because they were weak. I will forge a galaxy where only strength survives." Selene spat. "That galaxy is nothing but a graveyard." Kalen's smirk widened as if he had known this moment would come. Elara whispered, trembling. "The shadow has a name now." The battlefield grew silent, broken only by the hum of the alien shard in Orin's hand. Its glow pulsed with unsettling rhythm. Elara clutched her side, her voice trembling. "That relic, it calls to something greater." Orin stared at it, jaw tight. "Or it calls to our doom." Selene knelt beside Elara, determination in her eyes. "If this is what the enemy wants, then it's more than a weapon. It's a key." Kalen's smirk sharpened. "Finally you see it. Power beyond imagination." Orin turned on him, fury flashing. "You speak like you've known this all along." Kalen's silence said enough, his grin a confession. The truth pressed heavier than the shard's glow. The hologram flared alive again, revealing a cloaked figure with sharp, commanding voice. "Orin, you walk the same path as I once did. The war never ended because I would not let it." Orin clenched his fists. "You started this." The figure's face flickered into focus, revealing the antagonist, eyes burning with conviction. "I endured the lies of peace. I will forge truth with fire." Selene hissed, "You slaughter millions to feed your pride." The antagonist's voice rose, calm but merciless. "Sacrifice is the price of survival." Orin's chest burned as he spat. "No. Sacrifice should mean something more than ashes." The hologram burned out, leaving silence thick as smoke. Kalen stepped from the shadows, voice smooth as a blade. "He's not wrong. Strength is survival." Orin raised his weapon, rage simmering. "You were with him all along." Kalen smirked. "I was with myself. Always." Selene's face twisted with fury. "You betrayed us for scraps of power." Kalen's eyes gleamed. "Power is no scrap. It is destiny." Elara gasped, her voice weak but sharp. "You led them here. You opened the path." Kalen tilted his head, grin unshaken. "I only revealed what was hidden. The rest, Orin, is yours to choose." Orin's heart pounded as betrayal cut deeper than any blade. The wound of trust broken echoed louder than war. Orin's voice thundered through the chamber. "During the war I made choices that damned lives. But your betrayal, Kalen, was the knife in our back." Kalen laughed, sharp and cruel. "Your weakness damned them. I only saw the truth sooner." Selene pressed closer, her voice cold. "Truth without loyalty is just hunger." Elara forced herself upright, pain etched on her face. The faction fed on betrayal. It's their lifeblood. Orin stepped forward, fury hardened into resolve. "Then we break them with unity, not greed." Kalen's grin faltered, only for a heartbeat. The shard pulsed brighter, as if the galaxy itself hung on Orin's choice. The antagonist's fleet lit the horizon with fire as night broke into war. Orin gripped Marcus's pendant tightly, voice steady. "We fight not for power, but for those we lost." Selene loaded her weapon, determination fierce. "For Marcus, for all of them," Elara whispered. "The faction rises because fear silences truth. You must break that silence. Kalen smirked, stepping into shadows. And when you fall, I'll take what remains. Orin raised the shard, its glow cutting through the night. No, this war ends with us. The battlefield thundered with engines, the galaxy itself holding its breath as destiny flared into fire. The sky split as the antagonist's fleet descended, blotting out the stars. Fire rained across the battlefield, metal shrieking as explosions tore through the ground. Orin shouted, "Positions! We hold here." Selene sprinted beside him, her rifle glowing hot. "We're outnumbered 100 to 1. Elara clutched her chest, trembling but defiant. "They want fear to break us. Don't let it." Kalen's blade sang as he cut down soldiers, laughter echoing in the chaos. Orin's heart pounded, grief and fury fused into steel. He whispered, "Marcus, guide me now." Engines roared overhead, the storm of war swallowing every sound except the cries of the living and the silence of the dead. Inside the chaos, Orin rallied the crew near the shattered remains of a barricade. He shouted, "We fight together, or we fall apart." Selene's face burned with sweat and determination. "Then, we don't fall." Elara raised her voice, fragile yet steady. "Faction thrives when we're divided. Prove them wrong." Kalen leaned on his blade, smirking. "Unity? A sweet lie. Survival demands teeth." Orin turned on him, eyes blazing. "Then bite, Kalen. Bite for the right side." The crew pressed back against the onslaught, their weapons blazing in defiance. In the heart of ruin, Orin's reluctant leadership forged into fire. For the first time, the crew felt like more than survivors. They felt like soldiers. The battle surged into the skies as enemy fighters screamed overhead. Orin leapt into a gunner's seat, his hands steady. "Target the lead ships." Selene covered his flank, shouting, "We'll keep you clear." Kalen spun his blade with brutal precision, carving through enemies in brutal arcs. Elara clung to a console, her voice trembling. "The shard, it's resonating with their fleet." Orin grit his teeth, pulling the trigger as explosions lit the sky. "Then we cut them off at the root." Fire erupted in blossoms across the heavens, steel tearing apart in brilliant streaks. For each victory, more ships appeared, endless waves threatening to crush them beneath the weight of history repeating itself. Amid fire and steel, Kalen's smirk widened. He pulled the shard from Orin's belt with a swift strike. "You were never worthy of it." Orin spun, rage surging. "You damn traitor." Selene fired at him, but Kalen vanished into smoke, his laughter trailing behind. Elara collapsed, despair in her voice. "Without it, we're blind." Orin clenched his fists, fury boiling. "No, we fight with or without it." Selene's eyes hardened. "He'll deliver it straight to the antagonist." Orin spat blood, lifting his weapon. "Then we take it back, or die trying." The battle raged on, but betrayal carved deeper than blades. The war was no longer just survival, it was vengeance. The battlefield cleared just long enough for Orin to lock eyes with the antagonist, who stood atop wreckage like a conqueror crowned by fire. His voice thundered, "This galaxy bends to strength. And you, Orin, are broken." Orin raised his weapon, teeth clenched. "Broken men fight hardest." Selene moved beside him, defiant. "You won't bury us." Elara, trembling, whispered, "This moment decides everything." The antagonist spread his arms as Kalen appeared at his side, shard in hand. "The war you tried to forget begins again." Orin's chest burned as grief, fury and resolve fused into unshakable will. He whispered, "Then it ends with me." The final clash loomed like thunder before the storm. The battlefield roared as Orin and the antagonist clashed, steel and fire colliding beneath a storm-dark sky. Sparks flew with every strike, the shard's glow casting shadows across their faces. The antagonist's voice thundered, "You fight for ghosts." Orin's reply was sharp, each word forged in grief. I fight for the living who refuse to kneel." Selene fired into the enemy ranks, shouting, "Hold them off!" Elara crawled to cover, blood streaking her arm, whispering, "It must end tonight." Kalen laughed, standing at the antagonist's side, his betrayal complete. Orin drove forward, rage blazing. "This ends with you." His strike carved the first crack in the antagonist's armor, the tide shifting for the first time. The ground quaked as the antagonist unleashed a surge of energy, throwing Orin back into the rubble. He staggered up, chest heaving. The antagonist growled, "You are broken, Orin." Orin wiped blood from his mouth. "Broken men still stand." Selene ran to his side, her voice fierce. "You don't fight alone." Elara shouted, "The shard, it feeds on their will. Break their bond." Orin's eyes locked on Kalen, who held the shard aloft like a trophy. "You chose the wrong side." Kalen smirked. "I chose the winning one." Orin lunged forward, his strike knocking the shard from Kalen's grasp. It spun through the air, glowing like a falling star. The shard struck the ground, cracking open with a blinding surge of light. The battlefield froze as echoes of the forgotten war spilled forth, spectral soldiers marching, cries of the dead haunting the air. Elara screamed, "It's releasing them." Orin pushed forward, voice hoarse. "Then we bind it with will, not fear." Selene fired into enemy lines, buying him space. Kalen fell back, eyes wide for the first time. This power, no one can control it. The antagonist strode through the light, his voice rising. "This is destiny." Orin grabbed the shard's fragments, its power burning into his hands, and shouted, "No, this is sacrifice." The light surged brighter, shaking the ground like thunder. The light tore into the antagonist's armor, cracks glowing across his frame. He bellowed, voice shaking the battlefield. "You think this ends me? I am eternal." Orin's arms shook under the shard's power, his voice breaking but steady. "You are nothing without fear." Selene shouted, "Finish it, Orin." Elara reached forward, her eyes wide with desperate hope. "He can't stand against your will." Kalen, torn between awe and fury, screamed, "You'll destroy everything." Orin surged forward, pressing the shard against the antagonist's chest. "This war dies with you." The explosion ripped through the night, a storm of fire and silence swallowing them both. The battlefield lay silent, smoke curling beneath a gray dawn. Orin staggered from the crater, the shard's fragments turned to ash in his hands. Selene ran to him, tears streaking her dirt-stained face. "You did it." Orin's voice was hollow. "We all did." Elara rose weakly, clutching her scars. "The war may sleep again, but it never dies forever." Kalen stood apart, his grin gone, eyes filled with bitter loss. Orin turned toward the horizon, Marcus' pendant still clutched in his palm. "We carry their memory. That is how we win." As the sun broke over the ruins, silence spread, a silence heavy with sacrifice, yet pierced with fragile hope that tomorrow might be different.